again to Cooking at the Lake. I'm Mary Jane Warner, and we're here at my home. And today our special guest is my sister, Melissa O'Brien. Hello, Melissa.
Hello, Mary Jane. So nice to be quarantined with you and Michael on the lake. Thank you for hosting me.
No problem. Melissa's been here for about a month and a half, quarantining, and so we know she's safe for the camera, at least, that's for sure. Now, I have been asking Melissa since the day she got here to make cheese straws, because they're one of my favorite things that Melissa makes. And so the only way I can really get her to do it is to put her on Cooking on the Lake. So here we are today. And Melissa, you're making cheese straws.
I'm making cheese straws. I've been making cheese straws for quite some time. Actually, I put them in a gift box at Christmas time for all my friends and neighbors. So, and cheese straws you can make in assorted different ways. I like to make it with the pastry and cut them and twist them myself. You can do cheese straws in a number of cookbooks, especially in the South, will give you variety of ways to do it.
That sounds great. Sounds great.
Let's get started.
Okay. Now, what do you need for cheese straws?
What I need for cheese straws is cheese, and I recommend a very sharp cheddar cheese, at least a cheddar cheese that has aged for a year.
Is that the cheese that you use?
I get mine from Whole Foods, but you can get them anywhere. You can get a block of Cabot from Vermont. It's an extra sharp cheese. Anything that gives it that rich cheddar taste.
Now, do you have to use a block and shred it, or can you use shredded cheese?
You can use Kraft makes shredded cheese, and anything that is mixable that will mix with butter, because the other basic ingredient to cheese straws is butter.
Oh, my favorite.
Butter is it. And so my two favorite food groups, cheese and butter. So what we have done is you need about a stick of butter to about a pound of cheese. Okay. So what I do is...
And this is the way you ground your cheese so far, is that correct?
Correct.
So,
any kind of shredded. You can put it in, you can use a handheld shredder, or Mary Jane, as delightful as she is, has an electric shredder.
I do love my shredded cheese. Look at us.
Pure heaven. So you take every bit of your stick of butter and you put it in, and then you mix in your shredded cheese.
Okay. Do you need a spoon, Melissa?
No, sometimes the hands are just as good as a spoon, but I have a spatula over there to work with.
I did it for you. Here we go. Now, one thing that just really is amazing to me, when you go to the store, some of these fancy stores, they'll have a bag of cheese straws, and they're like $5, $6, $7, and I'm like, no way. Melissa makes them, and it's great, you know.
You just get some good cheese, and you get, good old handheld elbow grease. Also, too, what I do is I season my cheese before I mix it with the butter.
Okay.
And there are a lot of options to use. A lot of cookbooks say a dash of red pepper. My favorite, though, is Tony's.
Oh, I love
Tony's is the best. And you just put a little, a dash. They say a dash. I say a dash.
Okay.
Okay. And then you can put, other flavorings, like if you like a little garlic, or if you like a little garlic salt. The cheese is salty enough as it is. So you can put a dash of that in. And some recipes call for it and others don't, but it makes it more of a pastry if you use a little bit of baking soda powder.
That's a little bit.
That's just this.
Okay,
And so, and then I take it over and I mix it on a mixer. And so, here we are.
Get out of your way.
Here we go. And then put it in a mixer. And I use the KitchenAid mixer, because the KitchenAid mixer is the best thing since sliced bread. It just whips things up so evenly and nicely. And what you're trying to create is a cheese butter paste almost. So that, and that's why I use the block of cheese and I grate it myself, because the cheese is, it melts into the butter and it gives it that really good taste.
Okay.
And so I also, when I use the mixer, I take, and it's like this, which I hope all of y'all can see over the spatula. Anyway, and I pull it back down into the center, and so that it gets good and mashed up. So this is your first realm.
Okay, yeah, I can see that texture you're talking about is sort of like a paste. Looks like a buttery, cheesy.
Yeah, it's like cheese butter.
Okay.
Okay. Instead of brandy butter, you have cheese butter.
Okay, that's great.
You have like a really good cheese butter spread almost. You want it the consistency of a spread, because you're going to be adding 2 cups of flour. And by adding the 2 cups of flour, it will make it more, you can roll it out. Okay. So let's run it one more time before we add. We're going to run it at least one more time before we add the flour, but I usually do it 3 times. But. So then let's add and then we'll do it again one more time if necessary, but I'm going to go ahead and add the 1 cup of flour to this. And so what I do with that is I make sure I have it all off the sides, and so that you can see that it is it's a nice paste. And so there you got a good paste to it. And so then we'll add 1 cup of flour first. And this, you don't want to, you want to kind of stir it in a little bit so that you don't have the flour flying all over when you turn on your mixer. Because
thank you.
The minute you turn on
I'm going to have to do the cleaning, so thank you. Mix it right. Well, maybe Melissa will do it. She's been doing a great job. She's a perfect house guest. She makes her bed in the morning. She does all my laundry, and she helps cook. I'm telling you, if you
I continue to work remotely.
She does. As a matter of fact, Melissa, where do you work?
I work on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. I work for a joint committee, the Joint Committee on Taxation.
And the reason I ask her that is because in our household, Melissa, anytime she's around us, and there's some story, Melissa always turns it into a taxable event. And so we get sick of hearing about taxes around here from Melissa. So we have limited Melissa to 1 taxable event per day. So that is all she can talk about. So once she does it,
and obviously this is my taxable event.
Yes, done for the day. No more. Okay, so we're mixing again.
You can kind of cover the pan because you don't want the cheese dough flying out in all directions. Otherwise, you're going to have to clean it up.
Right.
And now it's getting thicker. So that now it's gotten thicker, as you can see, and it's turning more into a pastry dough kind of texture.
So you're looking at how many cups of flour do you put in it?
2 cups of flour.
Okay.
I put between a little less or a little bit, not anymore, because when you get the dough together and it's set, you're going to use flour on your surface to roll it out, and that will blend in as well. So you don't want them too dry, but you don't want it to stick to.
Oh, and look, it's already forming sort of a ball, so that's kind of neat. Sort of like a pastry ball. Okay. Sounds good. Let's do another cup. All right. Now, Melissa and I have been cooking for a long time. My mother was really, our mother, excuse me, was really smart because what she used to do was took us. We are a family of 8 children, and she would teach us all how to cook, and then she didn't have to cook at all because when you have 8 other people cooking, you don't have to do a lot of the work.
So why do you have 8 kids?
Yes, exactly. So she was a really good cook, I've got to say. But one of the problems was that she taught us how to cook for 10 people. So the funniest thing, when I first got married, all I knew how to do was cook for 10. So if I cooked anything like fried chicken or spaghetti, it was to feed 10 people. So after a couple of dishes like this, my husband's like, Mary Jane, this is really delicious, which is a very diplomatic way to start the conversation. But he says, I really think that we need to make less so I don't have to eat the same thing over and over and over and over again. So it took me about a year to learn how to cook for 2 as opposed to 10. So,
and since I only have 1 daughter, I still cook for 10.
That's all.
So it will start beating up and we can make it into a ball. And what you do, now in order to take this out, I take this off first. And that way, I can put that in the sink. And then you just empty it out onto your surface. And you make a ball. Now, also what I do with this is I put it in the ice box for usually 24 hours. I let it set because the butter then sets with the cheese, with the flour. And so I take a piece of wax paper.
I'll get that for you, Melissa.
I take a piece of wax paper and I roll it into it. But right now, what I'm trying to do is to get everything to settle into the ball.
Is that big enough?
A little bit bigger. Please. That's perfect. Perfect. And then you take it and you wrap it up. And you put it in the refrigerator.
All right.
And you let it set. And that way you can make it days and days in advance of what you need. And if you'll hand me the one that's been in there for a while, Mary Jane.
All righty. I believe it's on the counter, isn't it?
Nope. It should be there.
Oh, right here.
And it makes about 4 dozen. Okay, and so then you have a nice hard ball.
Okay.
Okay, so we put up what we just mixed in the mixer, and we're going to let it sit in the refrigerator for at least 24 hours. A lot of people do it earlier. And Mary Jane has just handed me the one that we prepared yesterday. And now what I do with that is it's as hard as a rock originally. And so it needs to soften up and become pliable. So you use your hands and you get it all nice and pliable. Okay? So then you take a little bit of flour.
Okay. Now you're using my pizza round here, that stone that I cook my pizza on. Is this something that you normally do?
I usually use a marble
okay.
slab or one of the best things is I don't know if y'all remember Tupperware, and the Tupperware form that they used to get, that they had, that laid out and it gave you the dimensions of a pie crust.
Yeah.
It was wonderful, I have to say. I use that.
Okay.
And just lay it on my counter because you're cutting and you don't want to cut or scratch your countertop in any way, shape, or form. And so that's why I'm using the pizza pizza pan.
Mary Jane, would you do me a favor and spray the pan with Pam?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, there you go. Now, Melissa, this is how you do it. You don't use parchment paper. You just use Pam on a cookie sheet. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
And then I take a little bit of flour in my hands and I sprinkle it onto the pizza platter, stone,
or Tupperware, whatever you have available. That's great.
And I move it around and make a true mess. And then I roll the dough that we have got it soft and pliable, so that you can roll it.
All right.
What a pin.
Do you want to use Mom's roller?
Oh, yes. That would be so much fun. And so
I'm
talk
sure.
about the old, bringing back memories. This was our mother's rolling pin. It was also our great aunt's rolling pin.
I feel really bad.
So we had two maiden aunts. Well, three actually. But Baki died when you were very young, so you didn't know Baki.
Well,
but we had Nene and Big Dee Dee, and they did these cheese straws. They also did, and they were the ones who taught me how to do the cookie boxes for Christmas. They would do the chocolate fudge.
Oh, I love the chocolate fudge.
And the caramel fudge, and they would do the spiced pecans, which was like barbecue pecans. And so what I'm doing here is, I think I can hold it up so y'all can see it, is I've rolled it out to a very, very, very thin pastry. And I'm just cornering it now, as you can see, so that you have something smooth to work with. So, and we'll use that again in the future. Okay. And so this makes, as I was saying before, this makes about 4 dozen cheese straws. And so you start off and you make your little
4 dozen at $7 a piece. That's how many polar bear equivalents? You know, Mike and I, we see this commercial where it says if you gave $30, you could keep a polar bear alive for a month. So whenever we're thinking about doing anything, we always do polar bear equivalent. So if it's $30 or if it's $60, that's polar bear equivalents of 2 months to keep a polar bear alive. So is it worth that much in cheese straws?
Yes.
I totally agree.
This is pure butter and cheese, as they say.
Oh.
So then you
I love how you're doing this.
and
Now you're twisting
them.
them. Is that correct?
They're twistable, and you just kind of twist them up in different shapes and forms the way you want to do it. And kids absolutely love doing this part because it's sort of like Play-Doh, you know? They just get to play with it, you know? And
Now I've seen them in the stores where they do a pastry bag, and it's kind of different. Would the dough be the same?
You could do the same. You can put it in a pastry bag, and you can get the little decorating tips that Wilson puts out, and you can do them that way as well.
Okay.
Yeah, you just
That must
make
be
sure
hard.
it's hard. You really got to use your hands. You know, you got to have upper body strength, which I'm twisting. So there we are. And so you just twist all these and you make a whole big tray. And then if you'd like to preheat the oven at 350.
Okay.
But the time we do this, you cook these, you make your little slices. And
now again, I love 350. That is my go-to temperature on an oven.
And I start off with about 12 to 15 minutes, and then I take a peek, and if they're golden brown and they're golden brown, you can take them out at that point and just let them cool before you put them out on a plate or in a dish. You can serve them hot and fresh, or you can put them in a tin and save them for when you have company and you want to just pull them out.
Now, this is kind of funny too. When Melissa says that she does gift boxes, what she does all year is she collects Lord & Taylor tie boxes and glove boxes.
I do.
And then that's what she uses. Used to be a bigger box, but times are hard. So now it's a tie box. And then she lines it with wax paper. And then she puts
tissue paper.
And then she puts, what do you put?
I put the chocolate fudge and the caramel fudge.
Oh, I love that stuff.
I do the cheese straws. And my daughter's really going to be upset with me for telling you this, but I put in Annie Doodle pecan cocoons. And maybe while I'm here on the lake, we can do another show of Annie Doodle pecan cocoons.
That would be great. And they are delicious too. But it's so funny because when I get that box in the mail, our family used to have a bakery, and it's called Smith's Bakery in Mobile. And they used to send around a fruitcake every year from the bakery.
Oh, delicious.
But we hardly ever got a piece of it because my mother would hide it in the house so none of us could find it and eat it. And when I get this box from Melissa, I truly try to hide it so nobody else knows that it's here and eats it as well. So the things you cook are delicious, Melissa. And I always appreciate getting that Lord & Taylor box.
Well, a lot of people, I do it every year. It's my Christmas tradition. And I think it's the only time my family really speaks to.
No, that's not true. That's not true. I don't know if y'all have noticed, but Melissa and I, we talk a lot alike, and we have a lot of the same mannerisms. And a funny story, my brother-in-law had only met Melissa like once, and he went to Washington on a legislative trip for his type of organization, and he was in the Senate dining room, and he said, and he's telling me the story later, and he says, Mary Jane, I thought I heard your voice. And I'm like, that can't be Mary Jane. And he says, but I kept hearing it. I kept hearing that voice. And so I started looking around, and there was this other lady there, and I went up to her and I said, do you know Mary Jane Warner? And she's like, well, yeah, she's my sister. And so my brother-in-law found Melissa just because of the way she talks. So we do sound a lot alike.
We're booking.
We are.
Actually, Mary Jane went to one of my class reunions.
That was fun. That was really fun.
And she was 6 years younger than everybody in the group.
So funny. A friend of mine, Sue Brady, and I we went down because we heard that in Foley they had these most marvelous swings made out of chestnut. And so I wanted to get one. And we were there, and we were in Mobile, and they had this big banner downtown at a bar, and it said, class of 19. And so my friend Sue, she says, well, seriously, Mary Jane, one of your brothers or sisters probably, graduated that year. Which one? Let's do the math. So we did, and it was Melissa. And so we decided to go in as Melissa and her date. And so we had just a great time, Sue and I did, as Melissa. And then when we got out, we called Melissa and we said, Melissa, we have some good news for you. You just went to your class reunion, and you looked great. You looked 6 years younger than all the rest of the kids. So it was really, really fun. We had a great time with it. So now you're still rolling out, and I can see it's that one part of the ball filled up half of the tray, so that's good. And they're going to rise a little bit, is that correct?
Because we put a little bit of baking powder in it. And also, too, you can take this dough and you can cut it in squares, and you can put a half a pecan in it, and you can use that. You can do that as a variation to the cheese straws.
Oh.
You can cut them in little squares and then lay them out on the tray
That'd
as
be kind of
well.
elegant, wouldn't it?
It's a good hors d'oeuvre for a
Yeah.
dinner party.
I
I've done that a
think so.
couple of times. Or if you're having a football party and you're making chili, you can take them and you can cut them in bigger squares and put them in a muffin tin. And then put the chili inside, bake them, and then put the chili inside and serve them as an hors d'oeuvre.
A little chili bowl, huh?
Yeah, a little chili bowl.
Yeah.
Not the same as Ben's chili bowl,
No.
but in Washington D.C. But it's pretty good.
No, sounds good. So you cut this way in half, and then you cut little strips.
Because
okay?
I don't want. Well, when you're making a goodie box and you're doing the Lord and Taylor boxes, you don't want to make them too big that they don't fit into the box.
Well, that is true.
So, you make them so that you can just pick one up and it doesn't break all over the place, too. And it's also twistable.
That's
like that.
wonderful.
So,
Good. Okay.
yeah,
Sounds
Jen,
good.
you can give a twist. Why don't you do a
Okay.
twist?
All right,
or
I'll
two?
try. You just do it so
And,
well, Melissa. I hate to take away from your twisting.
I think
Twisting
Kit used
the
to tell us
night
that.
That's great.
Kit used to tell us the same thing. You do that so well, and
That
then
was-
the whole house would be clean.
That was one of our cousins was Kit, and she had a catering business, and she made amazing wedding cakes. So we come from a long line of cooks, that's for sure. But Melissa's one of the best. Now we have two other sisters, and they are very good cooks as well. One specializes in jams, and she tends to win prizes at the state fair on her jams, and her name is Peggy. And excuse me, Peggy Margaret. And just like any other family in the South, you have two names. Her name is Margaret, but she goes by Peggy. And then Sharon, who lives in New Orleans, and she can make some incredible Cajun dishes. That's for sure. So
the talent isn't wasted in the family. Okay, twist the night away.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Twist it.
We just do it so well. We just about have filled up this cookie tray.
And then we'll let that.
Now you say you cook it for about 15 minutes. Is that correct?
Look, 12 first.
12, okay.
Because it depends on how thin the dough is.
Okay.
And so then after the 12th minute, I'll take a look at it, and I might put it in for up to 15 minutes. It depends on how brown you want them too.
Okay.
And how crispy, because these can crisp up very quickly.
Are they still? Do they hold their shape?
Yes,
And
they hold their shape. They hold their twist. They may come out a little bit, but usually you can tell they're cheese straws.
Oh, that's good.
And you can tell they're handmade cheese straws. And also, too, what's great about this is you can make a tray like this in the morning, and if you want to serve them hot, you can put it in 15 minutes before your guests arrive, and your house smells wonderful.
Oh, that's always nice.
So,
that's good when you're throwing a party.
oh, and
When
they
your
are
house smells
delicious.
good.
And they're delicious with
That's so
beer.
great. Good. With beer.
Oh, they taste
okay.
great with beer or wine.
Wine. That's a good one. Yes.
Yes. So.
Okay. It looks like we're ready to put these in the oven.
And then we'll have enough for another batch. So let's see how this goes.
Okay.
All right.
Let's put this in the oven. 350 for 12 minutes.
Correct.
That you had the other day about butter. Can you tell us what you did?
Yes. Sometimes when you're doing a recipe and you have to have softened butter like the cheese straws, and you forget to take the butter out, or if you're having people over for dinner and you're serving rolls and the butter is as hard as a brick, the quick way to soften it is you get a cup that is about the same size as your stick of butter, and you put very hot water in it. You pour the water out and you slide the cup over the butter. You let it stand for about 5 minutes, and then voila, soft butter.
Wow, I could use that trick. Thanks, I appreciate it.
Yeah,
That's great.
There are a lot of little tricks of the trade.
Okay. Melissa, now some of the staples that you have in your pantry, what do you like to keep always in your pantry?
Butter.
In your pantry?
Flour, confectioner's sugar, what else? Oh, beans. I love red beans and rice, and I love black-eyed peas. So, yeah.
I know I've seen cocoa in your.
Oh, well, that
funny.
is for the chocolate fudge. The chocolate fudge, I use the Williams Sonoma cocoa.
Yum.
But Hershey's is just as good. It depends on how much cocoa and how strong of a cocoa you want in your fudge.
Yeah.
So,
You know, a lot of times I'll look in the cabinet and I might have some things like, say, yeast, or I'll have, some flour or something that might not have a long span in the cupboard. And then I'll think, should I use that or should I go out and get some new? I always go get new. And the reason is that you take so much time to do a recipe. You want every ingredient to be good.
as fresh as possible.
You do.
Yeah.
I mean, use it or don't use it. That's the deal. So
Yeah, also too, if you wanted to use, like with the cheese straws recipe, if you wanted to be quick and easy, go and get the grated cheese.
yeah.
And use it. But if you wanted, a really fresh and a deep, rich cheese flavor, I'd go to Whole Foods and use their Extra Sharp cheddar cheese.
Yeah.
It's a really good
When
flavor.
you take the time to make a good recipe and put your energy into it, you really want it to stand out. So use fresh, good ingredients. That's always a good tool. Yeah.
So our cameraman and director, first time I've ever taken
Yes,
direction in my life.
We
I'm
just
sure you have now.
we just wanted to thank our producer, our director, our cameraman, our craft food services, our
Cheese straw tester.
cheese straw tester. That's right. Mike Warner helped us today.
Your
We really
spatula,
appreciate it.
sir.
Oh, there you go.
Order the
So-
spatula.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Collaborative family effort.
Oh. Melissa, how do they look?
Well, let's take a peek, shall we? Oh, they're looking pretty.
Oh, they
I think they're crisping up nicely. And what you really want to do, without burning yourself, is kind of take a look at the bottom. And that's crisping up just nicely. So
Okay.
let's take them out.
All right.
And let's serve them up on a tray.
Sounds good.
All right. And so, as you can see,
Oh my goodness, those are
we
beautiful.
have a nice tray of cheese straws. And we just kind of scoop them out. And you just kind of plop them in.
Lovely.
And let them cool on a cool surface. That way you haven't hurt your countertop by having a nice hot surface on there. And you can put a
Oh,
cooking
these look
rack
great. Oh, how
underneath.
lucky are we? Oh my goodness.
Well, as they say, bon appetit.
That's right. Oh, I can't wait to try one. I'm going to let them cool a minute, and then I'm going to try them. Absolutely great. Okay.
I hope you enjoy it.
Okay, put the tray over there. All right. They look delicious, Melissa. Good.
Held them up too much.
Okay. Melissa, those look delicious. Let's try them. Mm.
They are wonderful.
You are very good at that. I love this.
Mhm.
Keep those Lord and Taylor boxes coming.
They are.
Thank you again for joining us at Cooking at the Lake. If you have a nice, easy recipe that you'd like to share with us, We'd love for you to do that. So if you would email me at maryjanewarner2501@gmail.com, we'd love to have you share your recipe with us. Thank you so much again, and please stay healthy and safe. Bye-bye.